Well, I think one of the most important things that's going to influence the price of silver in the future is to be the threat from the federal government to investigate commodities manipulation. The story pretty much broke with aluminum, but, there's a lot of stuff going on. So, I don't know if there's going to be anything outlandish now to try to drive it back down. Also, considering that the the six major bullion banks in the world, are now net long as of the mid May 2013. It should have been pointed out quite a while ago by some of the people. This is what gets me about these silver experts on YouTube. I'm pointing out common sense, really. But it was they had a big short position in gold back in January 2013. That was the major bullion bank, so you knew something was coming up, and they're pretty much long oil. So you knew something was coming up. They won, right? Now oil, I want to get onto that too real quick. Oil actually has been going down. Part of it is a lot of people realize oil was going up before. Recently, now it's dropped back down. It was over tensions in Syria and also Egypt. But there was another factor that was going on. It was labor disputes in Libya. So, and my guess really is that something's going to happen where oil is going to go up a lot. There's too much money. There's too many people in the United States that have a real interest in pushing the oil prices up a lot. So they're going to make out a lot. They're going to squeeze the middle class like crazy with high oil prices. But I think they're going to go up. That's why I also think silver and gold is going to go up too. Because in a way, there is a loose connection between all those things, especially when you get into bull markets. Now, I want to diverge on something real quickly because I know Snowden went to Russia and he was going to go to Venezuela. He was going to go maybe to Ecuador, but he wound up he's going to stay in Russia, and maybe he'll get his citizenship in about 5 years. He's going to regret that decision, man, because I think it's like, I know the NSA and the CIA is spying. They got all kinds of spying going on in America. They're violating all kinds of people's rights and stuff. But going to Russia ain't really going to help. Because, I don't know why, man, it's almost like somebody's really smart and sometimes they just didn't do the right thing. I don't want to be too critical of him because he was very brave to do what he did. But me personally, I would never go to Russia, Venezuela, forget about Iran. I don't care. I just wouldn't go to any of those places, man. That's what it is, because I think they're worse than anything, that goes on in the United States. I think they're worse. If I had some kind of information that I think should get out to the American people, I'd probably do like Michael Hastings did and wind up being blown up in a car by saying, I'd be going to the press and I got some big story, It's a lose-lose situation, but I wouldn't be going to Russia. Because if I'm dead, the Russians ain't going to get any information on what's going on in the United States. So I stick with the USA all the way, even though it's evil. But, it's not totally evil. And, I think some of the biggest allies, actually, if somebody's like looking for like abuse of human rights, is going to be in the media. People say, the major media is all owned by this and that. They don't own everybody. People got various ways they think, and man, I shouldn't say this, but you could probably find a lot of Jewish media people that are very much on the side of justice and human rights. So that might be a surprise to some people. That's how I see it. So anyway, but the commodities, the outlook for the future. Goldman-Sachs put out their different things, like the collapse in China is going to supposedly bring down the price of copper. But there's other things going on with copper that makes me think it's going up, because there's other people that have been moving into the funds. I think there were some new funds that were brought out. And, if things heat up in the Middle East, which I think they're going to, one way or the other, if the United States totally got out of the Middle East policies, politically, everything, and say Israel was someplace else and had their own country, there's going to be a war in the Middle East anyway, because there's this divide that happened 600 years ago with Muhammad, and there's going to be a war there one way or the other. So, man, people could do whatever. That's one thing I don't understand about religion, because religion is like, man, it's supposed to help people, but nah, not really. It's a racket in itself. It's as bad as like what the corporate people do. They got a scam. The guys on the top of all the religious leaders, I don't care who the hell they are. They all got a scam. That's just how it is. But as far as like commodities, I think they're going up, because the one thing is the net position of the bullion banks, the six big bullion banks, who was previously short back in January, they're net long. Now, a lot of people think, I want to point something else out. It's like if the markets go down, that the metals will go down. That could be true if it's due to like, slowdowns and everything like that. But they can go in opposite directions for other reasons. And the reason would be this. If, for instance, there's a major problems with the debt, meeting the obligations, that the United States government's outlook for meet its obligations is looking more dismal, and there's a lot of squabbling over how you're going to pay for this, how you're going to pay for that, and it's not only between Democrats and Republicans, but it's even within the parties, that could be bad for the markets themselves, and bad for the U.S. dollar. And gold can go up in those type of climates, because people will get out of the fiat currencies and go into the old money. The old money is being gold. That's why gold can possibly go up and the markets go down. And you saw this happen back in August of 2011. And then, it looked like it was going to continue, and then, it changed the other way around. So if you make if gold goes way to hell up, I don't know where the exact point would be. I personally think with silver, though, a Fibonacci is one of your better things to look at overall. That crap does seem to work pretty good. I'd say, it's going to go, if it goes through 50, some people say it'll go to 100, but actually a big fib point is going to be a little like in the low 70s. In the low 70s for silver. So I would definitely sell some if it broke solidly through 50, and I'd be selling a little bit over 60. A little bit. But I think long term, silver's going to go much, much, much higher than that. And I think there's going to be two peaks. I said this several times. One in 2014, that's going to bring silver up to about 75. And one that's going to bring it into like 150 to 200 or maybe more in 2017, 2018. That's what I think is going to happen. Could be wrong, but it seems like every 3 years, there's like a cycle. There's a peak. So, that's probably, if you're getting up to 75, you might say, I don't want to sell any because maybe it's going to go way over 100. If it's getting up, to 60, 65, 70, I'd sell just a little bit at a time. I think that would be smart to do. Because you can always buy another hard asset with that. And, like the other point I was making today, though, it looks like this thing with the aluminum rigging prices and all this stuff with the storage fees, storage fees being 20 times as long, and trucking aluminum from one place to another Goldman-Sachs storage area, and the Commodities Metals Exchange is getting a percentage of the lease cost. They're all in cahoots with each other. Now it's gotten all out in the open. So now the federal government is probably going to start investigating commodity manipulation. So not that it's going to go away, but that's another reason to think that things are going to start floating up again. So, despite the bad economy and all that stuff, And like I said, even if the economy, and they came out with numbers that, the GDP was really, really bad, the manufacturing index was really, really bad, all the statistics are looking bad, there's total collapse in the, construction industry and all this type of stuff. If you have a problem where the debt of the government the debt obligations of the government look like they cannot be met, and Moody's and S&P, Standard & Poor's, are starting to voice their opinions about that. Despite all that, gold can go way up. And I think that's going to be the major factor that's going to bring it up, besides other factors. If you're looking at just pure production, how well the economy's doing, what's going on in the construction industry globally, industry in general, manufacturing, it's not looking good for the commodities. But I think it's other factors, even besides QE. It's also the problem with the debt across the world. You know, that's going to cause a problem where people are going to be scared to go, stay into fiat currencies. And, I also want to point out this thing. I talked about, like you have a check, so you get a check, and it's, is it good? You take the check, right? And, it's like a future income or is it direct deposit? It's like very important. I always, somebody was around people in business. It's like you want the money now. You want it in hand. You want it in the bank. You want to make sure the check is cleared. You want to make sure the direct deposit is in there, that funds exist, they're verified. That's something else to also keep in mind with physical metals. Because, when you're looking at these numbers electronically, in some cases, not in all cases, in some cases, they may be fluff. And that is one reason to stick with the physical metals. I just use a little common sense on that, because someday maybe some of these stories that they talk about, SLV not having the silver they claim, it may come about. And if there actually is a rumor that comes out there and the public at large thinks SLV isn't good, guess what's going to happen? The share price is going to drop. It's going to drop. So, physical metals are like the backstop to the backstop. So, I want to put that out there because it's almost like you got the money. You got it. It's even better than saying the check is cleared, the direct deposit's verified, all that stuff. It's even better than that. So, that's one thing to keep in mind in general business. You want to verify that you absolutely have the funds. That's one other reason to stay into the physical metals. Just keep that common sense thing in mind, because long range, there may be a financial collapse long range. I think that's going to come about probably after the Obama administration. But we're going to see some big scares during this time, and I think they're coming up pretty soon. Watch what's going to be coming up even here in the late summer when they start talking about the budgets more. Big fights. And then when it hits the news, I think that's going to help out gold.